without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the front of the room, Kris Krohn!
What's up, guys? How we doing? How are my growth warriors?
Yeah!
No, I said, how are my growth warriors?
Yeah!
Here's the cool thing about your career choice. You realize that you are in the highest paying opportunity on the planet when you engage in the game of sales. And let me tell you for just a moment what sucks about your choice. Let me tell you what makes everyone nervous that you know that doesn't do sales. You don't have the security of a W-2. You don't have a fallback. And for most of the world, they would never do what you're doing. They think you're crazy. They think that you're stupid. They think that you're being risky. They think that you can't really create security. Are they right?
No.
And yet, how many of you recognize it's a high-risk game? How many of you recognize that? I want to talk for just a moment about how you win this game in a way that most people just don't understand it. Because part of what I want to share with you is metaphysical. Do you guys know what that word means?
No.
How many of you know what the word manifest means? In my life, did I get lucky being 43 with the world that I have?
No.
Did I get lucky?
No.
This whole thing, did it happen on accident?
No.
Did I win some lucky club where I'm like, oh yeah, dude, so someone randomly gets plucked and has way more success than someone else?
No.
Like, I just got back late last night on my private jet with my wife and a couple of dear friends from Sedona. And it was for my wife's birthday. We just wanted to take 3 days together. I wanted to give her the gift of a place that she loves to be in. I said, honey, you can book any tour, you can do anything, you can have anything you want, spot A. Like, this is just something that I want to give you. She loved it. It was a really wonderful, connective 3 days. And when I think about that for a moment, I'm like, okay, let's process for just a moment the financial cost of the experience. It's about $45,000. I just want you to think for a moment about a $45,000 3-day getaway. Either I'm a really stupid human being that doesn't value the dollar and just recklessly spends it. That's what some people would choose to believe, by the way. Or there's something else happening. What's happening? Why can I make that decision every day of the year if I want?
Because you earned it.
Values.
How did I earn it?
Making money without working.
I'm making money without earning. By the way, I started in your chair doing exactly what you're doing. How did I earn it?
You created it.
How did I create it?
Manifest it.
How did I manifest it? Like, we know all these words, right? But what I want to do is I want to share with you that there's a formula. There's nothing I've experienced that I can chalk up to luck. There's always a reverse engineered system. Any one of you could reach out to me and say, Kris, what is your system for this? Because I promise you, I have a system for everything. Literally, I was sitting in a van traveling across Ukraine from west to east because there were 12 civilians that were trapped and being bombarded that we were going to rescue. And on that 20-hour train ride and drive there, and on the 20 hours back, I'm sitting in a van full of donors that want to get their money's worth out of Kris Krohn, meaning he's trapped in a small box and there's nowhere he can go. And I promise you, they asked endless questions. There was no break. There was no ceasing to their questions. You can ask Weber because he got literally 40 hours of video, 20 hours there and 20 hours back. And the questions didn't end. And by the end of the 40 hours, what everyone was most mesmerized by is, Kris, it does not matter whether we ask you a question about sexual intimacy or how you put muscle on your body or business or sales or anything. You have a track record based on a system, and the system produces results. And any time in life you don't have the result that you want, it either means you don't have an adequate system or it means you do and you're not following it. So what I want to do is I want to share with you my system for growth. Can I do that?
Yes.
All right. In this role that you're at and in this place of life that you're at, everything is measurable. But weak humans don't like to measure. You know why we don't like to measure? Why don't we like to measure stuff?
You don't want to fail.
Because we don't like to fail. We're afraid of what that would mean. And we don't want to face the what? We don't want to face the music, the consequences, and what it means about us. Because a weak human in the beginning of their journey of life, they're afraid of negative feedback. They're afraid of criticism because for them, it's all negative. It's all bad. And so what we have is really sensitive egos and we have really sensitive self-esteems. And what we need to learn how to do is actually graduate to a level that says, hey, toughen up, start measuring, and then evaluate the data and then course correct and make decisions in your life. For example, how many of you have at one point in your life had a habit of going to the gym? Raise your hand if you've had that. Awesome. Have you ever fallen into the routine where you know when to show up and you know how long to be there and you know that you're going to be in a routine, but when it's all done, you actually didn't measure anything. You just moved your body and exerted effort. How many of you know what I'm talking about? In my opinion, if you ever go to a gym and you don't have a clipboard or a digital clipboard on your phone, and if you're not tracking with your app, I have no idea why you're at the gym. Because results never manifest from effort alone. They always manifest from intention. Effort without intention equals maybe 10 or 20% of a results possibility. So what do I mean by intention then? What's the difference between effort and effort plus intention? What do I mean by that?
You have a direction?
It means that you have a direction. It means that you have an aim. What else does it mean?
Goal.
It means that you have an outcome, a goal that you're actually moving towards. For example, when I go to the gym every day, I have to hit 10 PBs. So this is my outcome. What's a PB? How would I define a personal best?
More than you've ever done before.
More than I've ever done before, but not more than I've ever really done before, more than I did the last time. So on my clipboard, I literally have X number of exercises and I have more than 10 opportunities for a PB. So for example, I'll tell you about today's PB. I was doing incline chest, I did 4 sets. On the last 2 sets, I did drop sets. The last set had 3 drops. So for those of you, that would be like, I busted out 10 reps on one rep, on one set, and then I immediately lowered the weight and did it again, and I lowered the weight and I did it again because my goal is to fail. If you don't go to the gym and you fail your muscle, then you failed for the entire purpose of being there. Because longevity of life is tied to VO2, cardiovascular levels, and muscle mass / strength. So if I go to the gym and if you push a weight, then the purpose has to be to fatigue it to the point where it fails and it's worthless to work it anymore. If you don't get there and all you did was, oh yeah, I did 3 sets of 10 reps on these weights. Like, sweet, that's called movement, not achievement. And all you did was absolutely waste your life at the gym. Because remember, who wants to think that they did something only to get 10 to 20% of what was available? That sucks. And that definitely doesn't belong in the mindset of what we do here in this group. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it means that movement without intention is worthless. So I have to have an intention. I have to have an outcome that I'm working towards. So what I do is I will maintain the same group of exercise. Monday is chest day, which meant that I had 5 different chest exercises. And I measured all of my sets last Monday. And today I did all the same exercises again. So where was my PB? On my second set of chests, I went from my incline, I started doing my decline. And what I did is I went to my max of 275 pounds. The week before, my chart read 245 pounds. So what was the weight increase by?
30.
It was 30 pounds. Now, last time I did 8 reps on 245. And this time on 275, I did 5. Now, this is technically my 7th set of chest. So at this point, my chest has already had a major beat down. So 275, 5 reps, what's better? Last week's 8 reps of 245 or this week's 5 reps of 275? 5 with 30 more pounds definitely represents growth. Who follows me? Now, by the way, when I do 275 next week, how many reps do I need to hit at least?
6.
I gotta hit 6. Why? Because that's a 15% increase from the week before. And if you look at my chart, from one week to the next, on every single exercise, except for 1 or 2 for the entire day, there's always an increase of weight or rep. As a result, I'm always stronger, I'm fitter, I'm faster. every single time. Now, what I just described is a system, a what?
System.
And without measurement, is there a system?
No.
No, and most weak humans don't measure stuff because they don't like the feedback. And the feedback is going to be, I'm a failure and I'm not good enough. But at some point, if you want to win, for example, in this game, you have to start measuring. Marianne, for example, has released some new information that you all have on your critical driver sheet. And it's called DPL. What does it stand for? Yeah, what does it mean?
The amount of money that you're using to get a lead.
Yeah, I want you to just think about our old system, AKA the week before, and I wanted to describe something arbitrary. Hey, I'm a team leader, Max. Hey, what do you want to hit this week? Oh, Kris, I really want to hit $10,000. What if you found out you only had $6,500 worth of leads? Could you hit 10 grand? Yeah, you have to make up for it with what?
Increasing value.
You've got to either, to get that extra volume, you have to work harder or you have to advance superior skill. Because we have some of you here that regularly outproduce the DPL. And that's because that's where your skill level's at. But if you actually don't measure the right thing, and here's the problem, this is the lesson I want you to write down. First, lesson number one is, if you're not measuring, then you're not growing. Because you can only grow what you measure. Lesson number two, if you measure the wrong thing, then you're chasing a symptom instead of a solution. So you have to measure the right thing. What we're doing with DPL is we are now revealing to you a very simple system that says every day we allocate leads to you. And you're going to pull 80 or 90% of the volume out of those leads over a 2-week period of time. Another 10 or 15% might take you a third week, and once in a while you'll get maybe pipeline from 2 months later. Max once in a while hits me up and he's like, I've been working on this lead since last April. I think I'm ready to request a Kris Krohn video. Because, by the way, some of Max's great long-term numbers, there's a part that will always come in from pipeline, right? But for the most part, the majority of the money you're going to produce on a lead is available in the first how many weeks? 2 weeks. At least the first 2 weeks. That's when the majority is going to hit. Which means that you really should be able to keep and work your lead for about a 2-week period of time. Let me show you how this information will help you gain total control of your income. Let's just say right now you got a 6-week average of $4,200. You are not riding high on the horse. You're not feeling all that great, but you at least have data on where you're at. And as a result, because you hit 44,000 instead of 4,200 on the lead allocation, you're probably going to be allocated a little bit less. Because I want to share with you the downward and the upward spiral. If the company gives you, let's say, an average of $5,000 of leads, and you close $4,000, what does that mean?
You're not getting the return that we want.
It means that you're not getting the return that you want. It means that if on average this group can pull $5,000 out and you pull $4,000 out, what does it mean?
Negative ROI.
It means you're underperforming. And if you're underperforming, it's only done in 2 ways. How are you underperforming?
Lack of skill or not working.
It's either not working or a lack of skill. There's only 2 things that you can do. And by the way, if you want to increase skill, you just do that by becoming a master of asking questions. You never get satisfied. You never think you know best. Even when you're like, this objection, the way I overcome it works 9 out of 10 times, stay the student. Like, you stay the student your entire life. There's a time to be a teacher and a master, and there's a time to be a student. And in the game of elevation and learning, you always want to be the student. So here we are. We've only got 2 things that we can work on. So all of a sudden, you know, your sheet tells you, you're kind of entry level, you haven't been a star performer, you've got a 4,200 6-week average, maybe you're going to be allocated $4,000 worth of leads. What will happen to your income if you're only capable of producing the value of the lead? What will happen?
Stay the same or go down.
How many weeks will it take before you're no longer working here? How many of you get it's just a matter of time?
That's only 2 weeks.
Yeah, which means what? If you've been allocated $4,000 worth of leads, how many of you next week want to actually get a higher allocation? Because a lead is just cash. How many of you want more cash? Raise your hand. How would you get more cash?
Maximize on the leads you were given.
Yeah, but define maximize. For example, if I've been given $4,000 of leads and I produce 3,000, will I get more or less leads the next week?
Less.
Okay, if I get 4,000 and I perform 4,000, what will I likely get?
Same.
You might get the same, but the company has a problem right now. We're generating more leads than we have you. So if you're hitting DPL, the company will probably say, if we have extra leads, I'm going to give you some of those extra leads because I'm seeing that you're able to actually produce the volume out of your leads. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's not a guarantee, but that's just going to happen from time to time. But what if you got $4,000 worth of leads and you pull out $7,000? What will happen the next week?
You're gonna get more leads out.
Max, as you're given daily allocations, what are you going to do to that rep that is outperforming their DPL consistently?
I'm gonna give them more opportunity.
You're going to give them more opportunity. You're going to give them more opportunity. So watch this vicious cycle and the abundance cycle. The vicious cycle is, I now know my allocation and I didn't perform at it, and I'm going to get less. And if that keeps happening after 2, 3, 4 weeks, your fate is known in this organization. Raise your hand if you get that. And this is where everyone else says, you all crazy here in this room. You should go land a W-2. You should go get something that is constant and stable. And some of you might. And for some of you, that might be great because, by the way, to be in this game, it takes a different kind of mindset. But similarly, if our opportunity that we're going to give you is an extension of how you perform on DPL, tell me the good news in that. Because we're not a socialistic organization. We don't believe in fair. We don't believe in equal opportunity.
You can earn as much as you want.
It means that if you consistently outperform the opportunity, what will happen?
You'll be given more.
And by the way, like, how many of you think that your team leader would be willing to allocate you $5,000 if you perform there, $10,000 if you perform there? Is there any limit to how much opportunity we would want to give someone that is in the upward spiral? No. There's no limit. So that's the good news. And the bad news hasn't changed. The good news is we now have the metrics to know literally how to convert all different lead types into cash and daily real time, allocate them to you based on your performance. How many of you think that's cool? So I'm just going to share with you how all this adds up in life. I hope you go to the gym and I hope you choose to do it in the mornings, because before you put this baller hat on as a growth warrior to crush 100%, if you will, sales commission job, you want to get your body right in the morning. How many of you know that? So make sure you got a clipboard, or make sure you got one of those apps where you're tracking. Don't pick up a weight unless you can compare it. Don't get on the cardio machine unless you can compare it. And the game is simple, just more than the last time. You do that for 30 days, you are going to feel 30 days from now freaking beastly strong, because you will be. You will literally be probably 5, 10, 15, some of you 20% stronger than you were at the start of the month. If you're measuring your cardiovascular, same thing. You'll be able to go the distance. You'll be able to go further. You're going to be faster. You could hit that mountain harder, and all of a sudden you're going to be in better shape. Is there a correlation, you think, between being in shape, doing something that improves your body, and the same mindset of crushing it in a 100% commission job?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just telling you right now that if you are here in this room and you don't go to the gym in the morning, and your numbers aren't where they need to be, my first piece of advice would be go hit the gym. Because every day I leave the gym, I know that I'm stronger than I was the time before. Do you know what that does to a person's confidence? Do you know what that does to this I got this, I did this, I made this, instead of a victim of circumstance? It's wildly different, right? Same thing in your relationships. How many of you ever found it hard to focus here when you know things are a little bit rocky at home? How many of you know what I'm talking about? Which means what?
Invest in those relationships.
How do you invest in those relationships?
Time yourself.
It doesn't matter what they want, it's going to be measured in time. And the question is, either you're putting in not enough time, just the right amount of time, or you're putting in more than enough time. If you're committed to 100% this and you want to be in the abundance upward spiral, then make sure you're putting in an abundance of time into that relationship. And then the third one is, what are you doing to invest in you? What does your own personal self-care look like? And I'm not talking about the gym. I'm asking, are you smarter today than yesterday? Because if you're reading a book, you should be. I read an hour every single morning. And you can imagine how many books I'm going to read this year. And I'm going to tell you right now that I am targeting specific people on this planet that have mastered games that I haven't. And I'm looking for a shortcut. I'm always looking for the shortcut. And the reality is, when I'm done with an hour of reading on double speed, so it only takes me about 30 minutes, and I do that while I'm getting myself ready, and some of that's done while I'm cardioing, All I'm doing is I'm listening for the next idea that I feel inspired to run with, that I'm going to implement that day to make my life better. So you have to have a routine for investing in you. Investing in me, it is the gym, it is reading, it is meditating, and it is proper nutritioning, and it is also having time with my spouse. So I have a routine, and my question is, do you have a perfect routine for you? Do you have a perfect routine that amps you, that gets you going, that works for you? Because if you're going to do a 100% commission job, make no mistake, your biggest financial results will be tied to your successes and your messes in your personal life. So just ask, do you have something that needs to be cleaned up? And time will do that. And it just might mean that you have to reprioritize where you put your time and what you measure. And that's what I would leave you with today, is focus on those systems of what you're measuring. Because remember, without measuring, there can be no progress. You'll never know when you hit the mark. You'll never know when you're winning. And here, DPL actually lets you know that. And here's what Marianne and I are looking for in your team leaders. I'm tracking the upward and the downward spirals. I'm looking for the individuals that have said, Kris, I've wanted to double my income. I've performed well, but I haven't been given more leads. I now know who you are. I know how to give those to you. And here's my personal commitment and promise to you. For the first time this year, I'm doing something that I have never done before. The last 7 years, we have mastered the game of organic media. And we've been riding high on that horse. And anytime I meet my cohorts out in the industry, they're jealous of this organic machine that we've built. Because what I do on Monday is going to fuel this entire machine. But what they do is they do it, if you will, the hard way. They have to live on planes, doing speaking engagements. They have to keynote. They have to hop on every podcast. And what it means is their chaos in their world, they have a hard time achieving balance because they sometimes are working those 60, 80, 100-hour weeks just to get enough leads for their small team, not a large team. Well, we've built all of our buckets. We've maximized our systems. All of our tracking is in place. Like, everything is set. The only thing I can do is go out and steal earned traffic that I can bring here. So next Thursday, for example, I'm going to go to Vegas for a day. I'm going to fly in the morning. I'll be back home at night, but I'm going to do 6 speaking engagements. One of them has a podcast with 9.7 million followers. That day in Vegas alone is probably when all of those hit, and we're trying to strategically plan when they hit so we don't get inundated with 5,000 leads in a day. The reality is we have enough leads scheduled this year to more than double this organization. But if I have it my way, I will not double headcount. What I want is fewer people making more money. And the upward spiral now says this: you can produce on $5,000 of leads, let me give you 8. Show me you can perform on 8, I'll give you 10. Show me you can perform on 10, let me give you 15. I will not stop until you do. You get to decide when you hit your Peter level. You decide when you're done. But this system that Marianne has just implemented with our team leaders is designed to reward you as far as you want to go. And here's the cool thing. You don't have to go forever. But I'm going to tell you this, get yourself where you're making $100,000 a year and only living off of half of that. And now you can buy real estate and you can invest and you can grow. Some of you, we will have non-team leaders here that will make $250,000 a year. Because if you do well, we will give you more leads. And on $250,000 a year, if you live off of half of that money and you invest the other half, do you know what you can create for yourself? For 5 years, I sat in your chair doing that job. And what I did is I made a commitment to basically live off of less than $50,000 a year. And when my income went to $50,000, I finally started pulling ahead. When it went to $100,000, I really started pulling ahead. And my sales, I'll just tell you guys right now, my sales income topped out at $135,000, $140,000 a year, those last 3 years working at that company. But my real estate was then making me more than that. And so the two of them combined got me to the point that when I was ready to leapfrog, my investments were paying me $150,000 a year. And it was scary for me to quit my job, but when I did, I tripled my income that year, and that's when I started hitting $500,000. So you gotta have a plan. And I know that everyone in general is like, well, I'm gonna 100% commission it up, cowboy up, I'm gonna make good money, I'm gonna invest. I mean, how many of you have that game plan? Yes or yes? Yes. What Marianne's just implemented is now the other half of the game plan, which is really simple. You're either spiraling down or up. Some of you will go into a game where you'll be up a week and down 2 weeks and up a week and down 2 weeks. But some of you, what you're going to do is you're going to learn that what you measure, you can grow. And if you'll do it every day, because there's some people that do the feast and famine game, I can be hot on, for a couple of weeks and then I'll be off for a couple of weeks. If you can learn to stay on the majority of the time and spiral up, where you can maintain a great lead base that I will lovingly feed you. I would rather give you more opportunity than hire another person. I want to be really clear. There's no pride in how large this organization is. The fewer the better. I would rather have fewer people making a lot more money. And that's my invitation for you, is to be a part of that upward spiral. It's a game now. It's a system. Game it. Win that game. Be smart with your money. And just make sure in your personal life that you're doing everything you grow. Nothing I said here is simple. But I'll tell you it's worthwhile. Because that can set you on track for the destiny that you want from this place. Because I'm telling you guys, I feel so richly blessed in my life, but I have worked hard to get here. And there was a time to save, there was a time to invest, and there was a time to spend. I'm doing so much investing right now that I can just afford to spend a lot right now. And that's either being spent on the foundation and our trips in Ukraine and the work that we're doing over there, or it's other really cool things that are building incredible meaning. Right now, you want to know what I'm doing with the majority of my money? I'm doubling down on these companies. And I'm just investing more into you, into everything that we're building here together because it's worked. It's treated me and my family so well. My personal life, I feel like I have everything I could ever want. Now it's how do I make this opportunity better for everyone else here so that everyone can rise? This is a system for rising. So I invite you to gamify it. I invite you to create your own private personal system that you leverage so that on average, every week, you're part of the upward spiral till you break 6 figures and then go beyond until you hit a level where you want to jam there, take your excess, invest. And you guys are on your way. Who's with me?
Yeah.
You guys excited?
Yeah.
Great. Well, I can tell you this week it gets started because next week is when Marianne's going hard live on allocations of just more leads for those that are in the upward spiral. And I'm promising you right now, I'm doing my part to bring way more leads. For the most part, we're going to have a big problem all year round, which is more leads than we have reps. And rather than hiring reps, I'd rather just take our performers here and just give you more. So set your sights higher maybe than they've been before, get serious, and gamify the DPL. Literally every day, stare at that number, understand that number, and have a goal every day to beat that number, because when you do, you're going to be given more opportunity. Most people do not have a job where they can give themselves a raise. Most people don't have an opportunity where they could double or triple their income. You do, but it's up to you to take advantage of it. So this week, that system is now live. Go rock it out and give yourself that gift and crush it, because I want you to win in every game of life. Thanks, guys.